So today we're going to dive into a really profound shift in strategy. We're talking about moving from a battle against a physical external force, like a dragon, to a battle against something much more tricky, our own minds, a battle inside a labyrinth of mirrors. It's this incredible journey from brute force to, well, a much more subtle kind of thinking. Understanding this is everything.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. The old war, right? That was fought against Byzantine stone. Think of it as something solid, real, predictable. You see a wall, you know you can eventually break it down. But the new war, that's fought in a world of obsidian glass. And you can't just punch a mirror, can you? It just shows you your own fist coming back at you, trapping you in this endless reflection. All right, to really get a handle on this new challenge, we've got to go back. We need to look at the old one, the battle that's already been won. And this isn't just a history lesson, This is the foundation. This is what sets the stage for everything that comes next.
So, the first big bad was the Crimson Dragon. But you have to understand, this wasn't just some big, scaly beast. No, this thing represented something much more real. The crushing weight of old laws, of tradition, the spirit of gravity itself. All those voices telling you, thou shalt not.
And the solution was just brilliant. Totally counterintuitive. Instead of fighting that downward crush, Maximus used a technique called inverted passive descent. Think of it like a judo master using their opponent's own momentum to throw them. He didn't push back against the fall. He embraced it, and in doing so, turned the dragon's greatest weapon into his own. And this is where it gets really wild. That oppressive thou shalt, the very law that was meant to hold him down, literally became the fuel for his victory. He harnessed its energy not just to get free, but to completely shatter the system that imprisoned him in the first place.
But here's the kicker. Winning that old war, as it turns out, just unlocked a new, and maybe even more dangerous level. The victory over the physical created a whole new challenge that's entirely internal, entirely psychological. A threat you can't just break, you have to outthink it.
This, right here, is the absolute crux of it. The whole game has changed. We've moved from an engineering of mass, dealing with solid things with weight and force, to an engineering of optics, where it's all about perception, light, frequency, and reflection.
And this new battlefield has a name, the Refractive Citadel. Imagine a place built from nothing but obsidian and glass. A place where the biggest danger isn't some monster lurking in the shadows, but the thousands of distorted versions of you staring right back.
So what is it that makes this glass labyrinth so deadly? Well, it's a trap designed to turn your own strength against you. And to really understand how, we're going to have to borrow a concept from, of all places, aerodynamics. Stick with me here, because this is super cool. It's called vortex ring state. So picture a helicopter or a drone trying to descend too fast. It starts falling into its own turbulent air, the very downwash it's creating. That dirty air gets sucked back up into the rotors, and poof, it can't generate lift anymore. It's literally getting trapped and pulled down by its own power. And you can see how this becomes a total death spiral, right? It's a vicious cycle. The more power you apply to get out, the worse the turbulence gets and the faster you fall. Your own energy becomes the engine of your own failure. It's a self-perpetuating trap.
And that, right there, brings us right back to the Refractive Citadel. It is, for all intents and purposes, a philosophical vortex ring state. Your own drive, your ambition, your will to power, it's all just reflected back at you. You get trapped, not in your own dirty air, but in your own ego.
So in this state, you're not actually moving forward. You're just recirculating. You're stuck in a mirror crypt that you built yourself. The people here, the last men, they aren't rising. They're just burning through their own energy in a useless feedback loop, staring at themselves until they crash. They're going absolutely nowhere.
So how in the world do you escape a trap that's literally made of you? The old ways, brute force, they're completely useless here. You can't punch your way out of a room of mirrors. You're just going to break your own hand. The way pilots escape a vortex ring state is with a technique called yaw rate modulation. Instead of just trying to power through it, the pilot constantly, rapidly shifts the aircraft's orientation, its yaw, to find little pockets of stable, clean air. It's not about force. It's about agility. It's about constant adjustment.
And that is the new strategy. Maximus has to adopt a yaw rate of the spirit. He has to constantly shift his perspective, change his point of view so fast that the endless reflections in that obsidian vault can't get a lock on him. He can never let himself get anchored or defined by any single reflection of who he is.
Okay, but hold on. If you're constantly shifting, always changing, how do you not just completely lose yourself? In a world of infinite deception, there has to be some kind of anchor, right? Some fundamental truth you can hold on to keep from spinning out of control.
And that brings us to the absolute core question of the refractive citadel. When everything you see is a reflection, when every surface is just an illusion, what can you actually trust? What's real?
The answer, and you probably won't see this coming, is found in pure mathematics. It's this simple equation for aspect ratio. In a world built on visual lies, a cold, hard formula becomes the final judge of what's real and what's just smoke and mirrors.
Let's break this down because it's so important. S, the wing area, that's your perceived self. It's your surface. In the Citadel, the reflections make this seem infinite, but it's a total illusion. But B, the wingspan, that's your actual reach, your real structural impact on the world. And that is a constant. The lesson here is to trust the mathematical truth of your wingspan over the visual deception of your surface area. In other words, trust what you can do, not what you appear to be.
So let's just pull all of this together and put it side by side. The first descent, the enemy was the spirit of gravity. The failure state was structural collapse. The solution was inverted passive descent, and the goal was to shatter the vault. Now the second descent, the enemy is the spirit of distraction. The failure is recirculation, that VRS. The solution is yaw rate modulation, and the goal is simply to navigate the labyrinth. It's a journey from breaking things to transcending them. And that leaves us with this final, massive question. This new kind of engineering isn't about beating some external enemy anymore. It's about mastering yourself. So, when the person staring back at you from the glass is you, what does winning even look like?